worlds. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Free Friday Coaching Call. Excited to see so many faces. For those of you that haven't yet put yourself on camera, we're looking forward to seeing you live. It's so much more exciting than a little black box. For those of you that may be joining this call for the first time, we do this call the first and third Fridays of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and a little bit of background of how it came about. This was originally Rick's Free Friday coaching call. And Rick, for those of you that knew him, was my late husband. And as he traveled around as a master trainer, speaker, coach, and who he was, he would give his phone number out and he would say, if you need anything at any point in time, you just call me. I don't care what it is. I will help you. And so he meant that, and he actually did that. And then that leads to a lot of one-on-one calls and a smaller and smaller capacity availability. So he created this call several years ago to be able to have one conversation for all of his friends in the real estate industry, regardless of what companies they were with, in part mindset and skill set, so that all of us could keep moving and growing together. So we've kept this call going in his honor, and it's shifted now and is so much, it's actually really fun because it's turned into interviews of the best around the country that have so much experience and so much value to bring to the community, that are showing up in a spirit of contribution and sharing, just because they want to volunteer and do that. And so I love that about our culture and our community. So as we jump in,
Some of us were blackmailed. Let's be honest. Most people do it. Some of
Jim,
us were blackmailed.
Jim, don't let the cat out of the bag too soon. Some people think it's a friendly space.
Exactly.
Jim was blackmailed. So, and now he's revealed his identity. So I'm just going to jump right in and tee you up, Jim. Who we've got on the call today is somebody I heard Jim's voice on calls on speakerphone for long before I ever met him in person, because his relationship with Rick dates back literally decades. And I remember the day that Rick got the call from Jim. He was like, "Hey, there's this guy named Verl Workman, and he's going to be launching a coaching company called Workman Success Systems, and their vision is to become the premier coaching company in the industry for people that are wanting to have high producing teams and small independent brokerages. And I think it would be worth a conversation." Like, I remember that call that day. And so one of the cool things that I love about Jim is he's got over 25 years experience in the industry, top producing agent, has helped open an office, run a mega team. I'm like, there's nothing he hasn't done. He's one of the founding members of Workman Success Systems as the director of coaching. And so definitely left a fingerprint and a mark that in the first several years that that company was launching and becoming what it is today, which literally services hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients all around the US,
Yeah.
is that he had the opportunity and contribution to help shape all of that. And so I'm super excited to have you on the call today, Jim. Outside of that, though, one of the, all the professional accolades are amazing, but one of the things I love most about Jim is he says it like it is, even if you don't want to hear it. And so many people won't do that because they are attempting to massage a relationship or have things go a certain direction. And there are very few people that are like, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking. Here's how it is. You might not like it. I hope you know it's coming from love. It's the truth as I see it. Feel free to push back, but let's have a conversation about it." And I value those kind of people so much because they are few and far between. So, Jim Knowlton, welcome to the call this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings to my coaching clients is, I know I sound judgy, but it's because I care, because I definitely come off as judgy. There's no doubt about it. So first of all,
Look at Bree. Look at Bree. She's got her hand over
yeah,
her face.
we have several Jim victims in the room who have actually either are current coaching clients of mine or have been coaching clients of mine in past. When you talk about tough love, for those of you who don't know the gentleman, I don't know where he's on your screen, Mike Koch. Mike Koch and I have a 7-8 year coaching relationship. And one of my favorite things about my story about Mike Koch is one of the only clients that ever hung up on me regularly. And we coached for over 7 or 8 years, and we would get about, I would say, 1 to 2 hangups a year because we were just so passionate about the things we were talking about. Yet ourselves, our family, we are family now. So it shows that being tough on people doesn't mean that you end up with people that don't like you. It means up with you get bigger families and you get more love from people when you care enough to tell them the truth. So I guess Casey asked me to start, just tell you a little bit about myself, and it's going to tie in nicely to her story. I'm fortunate to have been coached by 3 people in my life in real estate. I have a coach for my marriage, I have a coach for my business, and I have a coach for myself because I need a lot of help. But the only 3 people who have ever coached me in real estate are people you might have heard of. There was a gentleman by the name of Gary Keller. I was in his top 100 for several years and was able to mastermind with Gary 4 times a year. I was coached by a gentleman by the name of Rick Jiha for 2 years, one-on-one coaching with Rick. And I credit Rick for keeping me in real estate at a time when I had just pretty much said that I didn't want to do this anymore, which led me to the relationship with, I had previously been coached by Verl Workman, which led me back to Verl down the road, where the foundation of Workman Success System, the hiring of a whole bunch of amazing people, the development of tremendous content, and a new family that I now say that my family doesn't live in New Hampshire with me. My family lives all around the country. And a lot of those people are on this call today. And I thank you all for your support and listening to me yet again. But my philosophy, I was one of the top agents in New England and in Keller Williams for a number of years, and I'm from a little state called New Hampshire. For those of you who don't know, it's up by Boston, Massachusetts. We're way up here in the end of the world, and to be able to be in the top 100 at Keller Williams, being from New Hampshire, is kind of a big deal because we don't sell as many houses as most of your towns do. And so one of the things that I used to be asked to do is sit on panels a lot. And, a lot of people like to talk about, you guys don't know Bree White, but she actually happens to be a social media and marketing expert. She knows stuff I can't even talk about. And, there'd be people like Bree talking about how to win in social media. There'd be people who were high volume lead generators. There would be people who were great at events. And then they would say to me, well, Jim, how did you get where? And I would average about 150 to 160 listings a year. The team would do about 200 to 250 transactions a year. And so they'd say, well, how do you do that in little old New Hampshire? And I had a really simple answer, that we believed in doing the basics at the highest possible level. And the things that I want to talk to you about today are really kind of the epitome of the foundation of Workman and of what was called the Jim Knowlton Home Team, now called Knowlton Family Realty, powered by EXP. Is what are these basics and how do we do it? So I think the first misconception, and if I go awry here, Casey, yep, go ahead.
I'm going to pull you back in for 2 seconds.
Yeah, go.
Why in the world did you get into real estate? And here you are 25 years later, still in real estate, which for anyone that's been in real estate, that's not new. This is a very valid question, and everyone has a very different answer around it. So I'm interested just to hear your answer on that before we jump in.
So number one, I'm terrible at following directions, was Casey asked me to cover that. So you can just see, and my answer was bad judgment. How did you stay in real estate for 25 years? Bad choices. No, so my journey in real estate is very similar. One of the things that I did at Workman was I onboarded all of the clients for the first 7 years. So every person that came on Workman got an interview with me one-on-one. And I thought I was kind of the odd guy, the way I got into real estate. But what I learned is I was very normal for a high producing real estate agent. So my journey in real estate started like this. My wife and I were flipping a house every 2 years to take advantage of the tax benefits. And so we were buying and fixing a house every 2 years. And I was actually a commercial pilot. So I flew for a charter company, and we used to fly rich people out to the islands and all that kind of stuff. And I was in buying a property one day, and the girl in this small local office said to me, hey, you're kind of dumb, right? And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting way to get this going. So I'll play along. So why am I dumb? And she's like, you're doing all the work of an agent and you're not getting paid. Why don't you just get your license and get paid? So I did that. So I ended up starting out at a place called Sandy Hino and Associates, which was a very old, basic, small brokerage, which was a 50-50 split that then could get split on the other side. So we actually could get down as small as 0.875. And I'll never forget that my first real estate transaction I ever did was a trailer. And I sold that trailer and I made $750 for like 2 hours work. And I thought it was the best job I ever had. What happened over the coming years was I, by accident, got really, really good at real estate, and I actually landed a company called Option One Mortgage, which was the largest subprime lender in the world about a year before the mortgage market imploded. Next thing I knew, I was servicing for Option One, Wells Fargo, RMS, and we were running about 200 properties a year. We had a great retail business that we had had from before. So all of a sudden we blew up. And for the next 15 years, we really ran that. Um, I ended up not becoming a professional pilot. I stopped flying until about 10 years ago when I bought my own airplane and started flying myself around again. So my journey in real estate was actually accidental, which surprisingly, having onboarded all these people for Workman, I was amazed how many people had been the same thing. They were basically going down one path, found this opportunity, and for them it was very natural and easy. But what I also learned was there's really two groups of realtors. There's people that it comes very naturally to, and there's people that really, really struggle, which lead us to the importance of these basics at a high level. That good, Casey?
I love that. I love that. And so you and I were talking briefly before the call today, and the promotion that went out is, this idea of 24 transactions a year. And the first thing that came to my head, because this is my 20th year anniversary of being an agent, getting licensed, is the conversation, because we work with people literally all over the country. And, I've got a great organization in Oklahoma, and their average price point's 275,000, and they wouldn't imagine doing less than 24 transactions a year. And then they sit kind of like sneering, valid, and look at us in California that are like, well, if you guys do 5 to 10 transactions because of your price point, you're golden. And this mindset or this concept of, well, depending on where I'm at and what my market is, will dictate the amount of transactions I do. And so I would love to start off with the mindset piece, because until that house of cobwebs gets cleaned up and swept out for people, there's no place for the actual practical how-tos to sit. So what would you say about that, just to kick us off?
Well, as you said, I would say that's crap. So, the reason being is that real estate is not a skills game; it's a numbers game. Okay, now you can increase your skills and increase your numbers, which gets you double the benefit. But really, real estate is a numbers game. And what I mean by that is if you take a real estate agent and you look at the amount of time they spend doing money making activities, which is anything outbound to a buyer or seller, in my experience of 12 years as a coach and 25 years as a team leader, my experience would say they do that for less than 15 to 20 minutes a day. Okay. Now, when we're talking about, I had the lowest price client I ever had was a client in Louisiana. And the highest price client I ever had is two people, one in LA and one in Gig Harbor, Washington. And what's interesting is exactly what Casey said. If I'm coaching people on the West Coast, they'll tell me their buyer team members could never do more than 6 transactions because no one does that. And those people are making $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And if I'm in New Hampshire, where even now our price has become $550 is our average price in New Hampshire now, most people here will say, well, geez, we could do 10 or 12 maybe. And what we know is we know that 24 transactions is kind of the minimum number of a person doing the basics with what I call the suck factor. And the suck factor to anything we do is 50%. Okay. And we're going to talk about the suck factor as we go through some of the things we're talking about. But if you take anything, so if you say to me, Jim, I'm an independent agent, I'm fairly new, less than 3 years, 5 years, what should my goals be? I would say your target goal should be 36 transactions. Your dream goal should be 48 transactions, and your fallback goal should be 24 transactions. Now, if you're a more senior agent, let's say 5 to 10 years, I'm going to say your target goal should be 48, your dream goal should be 60, and your fallback should be 36. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Jim, do you want me to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And the answer is absolutely not. I want you to work Monday through Friday, primarily from 9 to 12. And then what you do from 9 to 12 will drive what you do the rest of the afternoon. And I'm a huge believer in working real estate during regular business hours. That is something that I also am very different about. So that a good start, Casey?
It's a great start. And when you're saying that, it made me think of a book that I got introduced to in my early 20s called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Jim Covey or Stephen Covey. And and that begin with the end in mind. And so to hear you say that depending on someone's time in the industry, 24 transactions a year or 36 transactions a year is the fallback number is, I think, a really powerful reframe because an agent that's doing less than that is going to be looking at it from the opposite perspective of, I did 3 to 5. Can I do 5 to 10? Okay, can I do 10 to 15 versus that and this is such a disgusting visual. Big, hairy, audacious goal Rick would talk about all the time. I'm like, big and hairy. There is nothing that comes up wonderful visually when you think about big and hairy and then you stick audacious goal behind it. But the bottom line being that when we fast forward out and begin with the end in mind and start to look at, oh, these are fallback numbers, not dream goals, stretch goals, it
Right.
immediately starts the conversation in a different place. And I think that in anything in life, it's mastering our mind, right? And I know mine's out of control a good portion of the time. I'm guessing it's a party and a playground in yours based on what you share and how you share it. I mean, the suck factor, I'm so excited to learn more about that. But I think this is a great place to start the conversation of no, 24 isn't a stretch goal, 24 is the fallback. And now we start to build from there. So, tell us how to do it.
Well, so let's start. We're going to start with the suck factor on that particular platform. So if those of you who have been in real estate less than 10 years, you've probably never seen a real buyer's market. One of the things that I love remembering back to the heyday of showing houses and doing those things is I remember one time going to a town called Keene in New Hampshire, which is over on the western corner up down by Massachusetts. And I think I showed 13 houses in a day. And then we wrote 3 offers and we did a multiple offer disclosure that said we were making offers on 3 houses. And if you didn't accept it, we were going to the next one. So that's something that most of you have never experienced. Most of you have experienced the house comes on the market Wednesday, Saturday, there's an open house. Your people run through it in 3 to 5 minutes and they get to make a choice and they feel really bad about it. And you're not feeling great about it either because you can't really represent them or give them a lot of support. We can just either pay too much, not too much. I don't believe in that. We can pay market value or what we can afford in order to get the house we need. That's really not why most of us that have been in real estate a long time, we're trying to provide protection and good counsel and fiduciary services. So today, take the 36, 48, 24. So if you said to me in the last 3 to 5 years, Jim, has it been harder to be a buyer's agent or an individual agent in the market? I would say it's been exponentially harder. So what I would say to most people today is if I brought a team member on as a buyer agent on my team, or if I was a new independent agent just trying to do the market everything themselves, I would say that today, 12 to 18 transactions in your first year. Now, remember, we were talking about 3 years when I was talking about my overall plan. But if I have a team member that comes on today and a good team like Mike Cokes or Matt Tukoski's or Robbie Brady's or Jamel's team, I'm going to expect them to probably do between 12 to 18 transactions because there is a challenge in the market that is not something that they can correct. But the other side of that is in a lot of markets, and we talked about that on our workman call this morning, we are really starting to see spotty areas of buyers being in control again. And what's interesting is a lot of people don't know how to negotiate. So one of the things that you're going to have to work on when we talk about there's activities and skills, one of the activities will get you the people, the skills will get you the money. Right. So just know that what worked 6 months ago, even 4 months ago in your market may shift very quickly. So when we're listing properties, I have a coaching client that does all of his CMAs 10% below the indicated market right now. So that 24 is cut in half to 12 for the suck factor because the suck factor is 50%. And then we say, yeah, but we have Jamel, we have Mike, whoever, and we're going to get them back up closer to 18. So that's the suck factor at work with the basic rule.
I love that. And I love what you said that activities will get you the people and skills get you the money.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Activities get you the people, skills get you the money. I was at the EXP Con or EXP Regional Rally in Northern California yesterday, and there was a woman that has moved into the luxury market and last week had 6 closings, 5 of which were luxury. And and meanwhile, there's people sitting in that room that haven't done 6 closings this year. And so when we start to think about, I mean, you said it quickly and it's a powerful statement. The activities get you the people, the skills get you the money. But there is such a huge skills gap for so many people, and they don't know that they don't know that they have that skills gap because they are in a place of unconscious incompetence around it for the exact reason that you said they've never been in a market or a time or a place like the one that exists today. And so when you look at that suck factor and going, okay, we're going to take the 24 to 12, that doesn't mean that there's still not a skills factor for people to skill up. It's skills relative to, what that is at this point in time in this place in the business. And in the industry, and it's so completely different. And so I mean, one of the things that comes up in conversation so many times that I hear, and even from people in that room yesterday, there was a little over 250 people in that room, is that, oh, the market is this, the market is that. And I'm like, we're, a couple hours south of here. We just had someone that had an all cash offer, 200,000 over asking at a $3.4 million asking price. And it went like that. And so what you're saying the market is as a statement of fact is not the statement of fact in totality. It's what your experience is in this place that you're at and what you're seeing personally, not reflective of anything other than that. So then there's the skills that match all that, and it could be this complicated web, right? So as an agent navigating that, like, okay, we take the suck factor into account. And then how are you helping, or what do you say to people to help navigate that other piece in the skills gap that could be vast?
Yeah, so let me back up just a little bit. So Casey's talking about $200,000 over. On a coaching call yesterday, I had a client say to me, well, yeah, and they were going to lose $100,000 if they sell this house. Well, certainly they're not going to lose anything because the market is set by buyers, not by sellers. And so the discussion we had around that is, and this might be a good question for all of you, and you can put it in the chat box if you want. But what is the most amount of money? One of the first masterminds with Gary Keller I went to, the question that we started with is, what is the most amount of money you've ever had a seller bring to closing to get out of a house? And I thought to myself, well, I've never even thought to tell somebody they might have to bring money to a closing. They're supposed to get money at a closing. So this is interesting to think about. I went back from that week experience, and literally the next week I had a seller and they're like, yep, these are our numbers. And I'm like, well, it's going to cost you $25,000 to leave this house and meet your goals of moving to Arkansas, wherever it was they're moving. So when we talk about activities get you people and skills get you money, I want to go back to a very simple program called Sisu. Now, most people in this room, except for Selena, I'm trying to see if anybody else I see in here would love it, except for Selena, no one else in this world is going to say, oh, okay, Debbie's a supporter too. Debbie likes it. Most of us normal people are going to hate it. Okay. And the reason we're going to hate it is it asks us to put in every activity we do. And the way I like to think of Sisu is like this. You have activities that lead to conversations, that lead to presentations, that lead to agreements, that lead to money. Okay. So activities lead to conversations, that lead to presentations, that lead to agreements, that lead to money. Buyers or sellers, doesn't matter. It's all the same. Great example of how activities get you money or get you people and skills get you money is one of my coaching clients has a buyer's agent whose goal is to get 188 conversations every month. 188 conversations should lead to 5 to 10 buyer or seller agency agreements. Okay. Now, what we're finding with this lady is she does a fantastic job of getting her seller agreements or her buyer agreements, but her agreement to contract number is terrible. Okay. So we're having a conversation and he says, I wish I could just go with her, hear what she's saying, but when I show up, things are different because I'm the boss. Then they're talking to me. So I said, have you ever thought of a recording pen? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, go on Amazon, find a $30 pen that's got a recorder in it, and every time she does a presentation, bring it back and debrief her. So what I have is a person who does amazing activities. How many people would raise their hand and say they did 188 conversations any month since the beginning of the year? I'm not going to raise my hand either. This lady does 188 conversations every month. The problem is we get to a certain point, her skills take away her ability to make money because there's something she's saying or not saying that's not causing people to make the decision to move forward. Okay. So Activities get us people, skills get us money. Good on that one, Casey?
Yeah, I love that. And so, what I also want to highlight is that for the rest of us that are normal, with the exception of Debbie and Selena, there may be others who have not yet revealed themselves on the
Yeah,
call.
those there's some people hiding out there. There's no doubt about
Is that what isn't measured can't be improved. So the conversation I think you're bringing is really important just from the fact of if you looked at just the activities piece and are like, man, she's doing amazing activity to get the conversation set up. And you don't go to the piece about the conversations, which is the skills gap to actually know what's happening. Somebody not as seasoned or knowledgeable may say, well, you just need to do more activities.
it.
And like, how often do we hear that? Well, you just need to do more. It's a different market. You just need to do more activities. And the truth is that, okay, but until we can break down, like you're saying, at a granular level and see that combination of activities plus skills and where those two things actually sit, it's impossible to be able to really create any improvement. And so there's I talk about it, and I don't even know where I heard it for the first time, but somebody rating themselves on their willingness on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being yes at the top, 1 being totally resistant, of being willing to learn, willing to grow, and willing to change. And so when we say we want something like, oh, I want to take my business to the next level. Yes, I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to grow, but am I willing to change? Am I willing to actually document the activities? And am I willing to come back and go through a breakdown of each conversation and go, okay, what worked? What can be improved? How do we make it better? That willing to change piece becomes the true kind of like teller of if somebody's going to advance or not, or they're going to stay in the same loop. And I always say, like, obviously, you're an incredible coach. There's incredible coaches on this call, and the best coach in the world is worthless if you don't have somebody who's coachable and going to implement or integrate, right? And so we get in this like back to the mindset piece of what is there to do, like, here's what there is to do to improve. And so when we know like the path and it's not a guessing game, right? If you don't have the conversation that you just said, it is a guessing game. You just go, well, do more activities and, you'll figure it out. You'll get better at some point. So I love that, that direct and really like, no, let's get in, let's look under the hood, let's assess it and then deal with what's real and a real point A so that we can move forward in a, more effective way moving forward. So, okay, take us to the next piece.
Okay. So, and we say for that, Casey, inspect what we expect, right? We send people out and we have them talk to buyers and sellers, and we're surprised that they don't come back. One of the traits that I learned in probably onboarding 300 to 500 team leaders at Workman was most team leaders are exceptional real estate agents. So whether you're a broker owner, you're a team leader, whatever you want to call yourself, but the lead person who naturally does 36 or 48 transactions is a person that does it almost unconsciously, meaning they just were almost born with the skill. And I was very fortunate. I started in big ticket sales at the age of 16. I sold boats to people who were 3 times older than I was. We weren't allowed to adjust price, so I learned to sell without talking about price. I just did features. And one of the things that's most interesting is the better you are a real estate agent independently, just kind of your natural skill level you bring, typically the worse you are as a trainer. Meaning your inability to understand why people don't see the process the way you see it is so hard for you that you always put the onus back on them when it's almost 100% always on you. So when you take a Selena, and Selena and I have been friends for a number of years, no one can make a workflow better than Selena. And so when you take the Jim Knowlton process of a buyer, or you take the Jim Knowlton process of a seller, and you give it to Selena, who puts a workflow behind it, and then we train to the workflow, I know that all my clients that are using my services through team members are getting the Jim Knowlton experience through Paul Sessom. Okay, meaning Jim Knowlton no longer needs to deliver those services, and I am probably not the best person to deliver them because I have a very high level of ADD, and I also am not interested in doing real estate anymore. Therefore, it makes me a pretty terrible real estate agent. But if I give someone else this very clear track to do it correctly, the client gets the experience that I was giving for 10 or 15 years in production, and I am still in production, just to be fair, but they get the same production with probably a better outcome. I believe if Heather or Deb does a transaction, the person is probably getting a better outcome than they would get from me because I'm just plain tired. Okay. So I want to talk about our first program. So Selena, can you share with the group the cover page? So this is all part of your Empire Builders tools. Sorry, I got to think of the word. And this is a book called 8651, and we call it Top 50 for Empire Builders or for workmen. Sorry, we just got to see Selena's tax returns too. So for those of you looking to steal her identity, you just had the ability to do it. So 8651, I don't think you need to look at the book right now. Don't look it up online, but I just want you to see what it is and what it looks like, because we're going to talk about this now. So you can go ahead and disappear that, Selena. So in every company, there's factions. I'm sure even in a great group like Empire Builders, we have little factions in there, and some believe in a little bit of this and somebody believes in a little bit of that. Well, at Workman, we have factions. And factions, when it comes to top 50, typically relate to two different activities. The top 50 book was written as a lead generation tool without asking for anything. That book has been rewritten to be more proactive, to actually build in the process of asking for something. And I'm going to give you my version, but I'm going to tell you the other version. Okay. So very simply put, which does not exactly align with the book, but I think it's easier for people to understand and follow the way that I say it than the book, is what 8651 says. If we identify the 50 people that know, like, and trust us, and where we're gonna do this is we're gonna go through our phone, we're gonna go through our email, we're gonna go through our card list, we're gonna go through all of the people that are important to us, and we're gonna identify people that either have or should have provided us with one referral in the last calendar year. Now, the key word here is have or should have. What does should have mean? Our activities should make it easy for someone to tell us somebody wants to buy or sell real estate. So if we'll pick on somebody new, if Anthony finds out that someone in his top 50 just listed their house with Bree, it is not Anthony's fault. Sorry, I forgot who was responsible here. It's not the client's fault, it's the agent's fault. Meaning you were not staying in touch at the level that was required for the mind share of you being in real estate was given to the person, and you were connected to Bree. Therefore, it's your fault, not theirs. So how do we solve that problem? Well, the first thing we do is we identify 50 people. If Selena wants to be really tricky here, we have what's called a top 50 tracker. There's a tracker that we use, and what we do is, especially for those of you doing less than 24 transactions, for the first 3 to 6 months you're doing top 50, I want you to do one top 50 visit to every one of these people face to face for a minimum of 3 months. Okay, so here's the top 50 tracker. This is in your Empire Builder tools. And this is going to show you all of the different activities you can do. And then it will also graph and grade you so you can see if you're doing a good job. So those of you who like to see that they're succeeding will get to see all of those things. Okay. So we have a top 50. So we've identified our friends. So Paul Sessom is one of my top 50 members. I'm going to go knock on his door. I'm going to knock, knock, knock. Paul's going to answer and say, hey, Jim, it's good to see you. It's been 12 years since I bought a house from you, and I haven't heard a damn thing from you. And I'm a little kind of wondering why you're here. So what are you doing? And the first thing I do is I use the Rick Gia apology script, which has been beat into me for many, many years, that goes, hey, Paul, when we did that transaction 12 years ago, I enjoyed meeting you and your family so much. I think you and Beth are amazing. But unfortunately, I got busy after I was done that transaction, and we were talking every day. And a couple months later, I realized I hadn't talked to you in 2 months. Then I was embarrassed. And a year after that, I realized I really hadn't talked to you. And then I was just sure you hated me, so I was never going to talk to you again. But today I decided that your relationship is more important than me being afraid. So I wanted to stop by here today and ask for your permission to stay in touch in the future. Is that okay with you, Paul? Oh, it is. Okay, great. So, hey, Paul, tell me how Beth's doing. What's Beth up to?
She's dancing on TikTok.
Oh, she's dancing on TikTok. Now, you guys been on any great vacations lately?
Yes, we have. We were just up in the Monterey Bay area and had a blast with a good friend of ours, Casey Council.
Oh, and do you get like free lodging? I never get that part of it. I just get to go to the area, and then I have to pay for a hotel room. Better for you. How are things at work?
Things at work are really good right now. A little bit challenging. It's taken me more time to get results than I normally do. It's good.
What can I do to help you with that? How can I help you reach that goal of getting more? whatever.
You know what you used to do for me, Jim, and I just loved is that you would just call me out on it and just say, "Hey, are you doing things that are going to get you where you want to go?" And you never really said why. You just made me think about it, and I love that accountability.
Okay, great. So that was a very quick Ford dialogue. And what Ford stands for is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And Paul did that from a perspective of somebody that I'd worked in real estate as a coach with, and that's fine. But it works in any market, any job, anything, homemakers, workers, whatever it is. Now, here's the really hard part. And I don't have the time to do this very long, but let's pretend that we just had a 20-minute conversation about those things Paul and I did. And then I just did this. And pretend this pause lasts 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm standing at the door looking at Paul. Paul's looking at me and he's thinking, is Jim a serial killer? This may not have been the best time to open a door, right? But then there's two things that science has proven every person will talk about when they're uncomfortable. The first one is Paul's going to say, isn't the weather amazing today, Jim? Rainy, hot, cold, snowy, whatever the answer is. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's crazy. Yesterday, I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, close all the windows in my house because there was a big thunderstorm. It never rained, and I never got back to sleep. Oh, then again, I'm going to look at Paul with a not threatening face. And Paul is going to say to me, so Jim, how are things at work? And I am going to use a Rick Jihad line, and I am going to say, work is freaking amazing, which means nothing. And then I'm going to tell a story about a lady who is going through a divorce, who I helped get her multifamily into a condition so she could rent it. We got it rented for her. Then she found a property on auction.com and asked me if I could buy it for her, do the rehab, and sell it to her. She worked with my lender partner. So now this lady who went through a divorce, had no net worth, now has a rental property. And I just took a call this morning when I was supposed to be on another call, where I was talking to an electrician where we're solving some problems. And that's what I do, Paul, is I help people that have problems and need help in real estate. Pretty simple. Is Paul going to think about me if I have these conversations with him over the coming weeks and months? Yes. Okay. I'm going to record that as a face-to-face on the top 50 tracker. Okay. I'm going to do these activities with 50 people. I say we do 3 a day. So the title of this is, what things do I have to do? What was the exact title, Selena?
Oh, goodness. 3.
I think
Oh,
Casey sent it to me.
Yeah, hang on.
We all chase for Casey's. Okay, here it is. You can't beat this one. 3 things that all but guarantee 24 units a year. I wrote it. You'd think I'd remember that, right? So the number one thing is we're going to have a top 50. We're going to do 3 top 50 face-to-face contacts. If we do less than 24 transactions a year, we're going to do 3 top 50 face-to-face contacts every day, Monday through Friday. That actually is more than 50. So you're going to have a couple days when you can slough off a little. And when our ABC board, which is what we're going to talk about next, gets busy, we're going to then move to a modified top 50, which is using all of the other categories that Selena showed you with the pull down. But I like to change it to this. After I get busy enough that I can't do 3 face-to-faces with every person every month, I do 1 face-to-face, 1 letter or note card or value, and 1 call. So once I get busy, I go to 1 for face-to-face, 1 letter or note card of value, go to Facebook, find out they got a new puppy, send them a card, and then 1 call. Okay? So top 50 says that if I do this, if I contact 50 people once a month, I should get 84 sides referred. So the metric is at the end of the year, you should have 84 sides referred and 50 closed. So what is the suck factor of 50? Everybody remember what the suck factor was? The suck factor of 50 is 24 because I rounded down. So even if you suck at top 50 and it's the only thing you do is top 50, you should get 24 transactions. But we're not okay with that, are we? Because we're doing the activities, we want to get a better result. So before I move to the next thing, any questions, Selena or Casey, any comments on top 50? Anybody else got anything quick they want to just put on there? Because there's going to be a lot of information today.
I want to say that what I love about what you just said is that it's 100% responsibility and accountability for somebody that really wants to be a professional in the industry, because so many agents are trained to ask or are just like, well, do you have leads? Well, am I going to have leads? Well, how do I get leads? And in a business where business moves at the speed of trust, business is based on relationships, and relationships will move business faster than anything. That consistency over time. Oh, by the way, on a program that's not going to cost anybody money, it's investment of time and energy to build a viable and solid business is amazing, versus what so many agents are doing or will, lean towards, which is, well, I'm going to buy some leads or pay for some leads or, you know, go that route. And I think back to what Rick always said is that if you're in the sales industry of any kind, like the product that you have is the product, but the business that you're actually in is as a rainmaker or a lead generator. And if you don't master that, you have no product or service to deliver. And I think that's an important mindset shift. And why I love the program that you're talking about is it is how if you take somebody to help them really become a professional rainmaker, and then of course they'll deliver on the product and service called let's help you buy or sell.
Well, and the number one objection, Casey, that we get when we talk about top 50 is, hey, I don't want to bother. I don't want to market to my friends. I don't want to do these things to others. So I'm going to ask you all a question. You don't have to actively answer. I'll answer for you. But how many people believe that most realtors suck? I do. How many people believe that most realtors are fiduciaries for their client, meaning they would give up their commission because, like the house that I just bought for my friend, I'm going to end up putting $10,000 in electrical in it because it's the right thing to do. I'm willing to give up the sale rather than not do that. How many people believe that realtors are fiduciaries for their client? None of us. So your fear of being rejected is allowing other people to use sucky agents that aren't representing them and aren't protecting their interests. So the reason we do top 50 is not for our benefit. It's to protect people we care about. Okay. So little angry rant there, but that's one I really, truly believe in a lot. Okay. So we now have a top 50. And here's the crazy thing. If you start doing top 50, you're going to start getting leads. Now, I am going to tell you that every person on this phone call has enough leads right now with whatever they're doing to do 12 transactions. If they're leaving their house, if they have any family, fun, friends, activity, anything they're doing in life, if you are not a shut-in, you already have enough business to do 12. But like most realtors, you have a book that looks like this, which is actually my coaching notebook. And we write down leads on these pages, and then we turn this way, but we never turn this way. Okay, so we never go back. So the next system we're going to talk about is how can I manage upwards of 70 or 80 leads on a simple 3x5 whiteboard? Because if I ask you to do it in your CRM, the CRM is going to become the problem. But if I ask you to do it on a whiteboard that's on your desk, right, or on your wall right behind you where you can see it every day, and you physically have to ignore it to not do it, it will work for you. Okay. Now, all of the charts and graphs I show you are proprietary, protected by copyright, and you may not use them. You'll understand why I made that joke in 1 minute. This is an ABC board, okay? And it's really simple. What you're going to notice is I should have used a Sharpie, but it has 3 columns, okay? 3 columns, A, B, and C. They're actually on this side. I don't know if you can see them. Usually my hand-drawn diagrams work better, but this one's not working out as well. But ABC. Okay, so now we basically just taken this page, we folded it into 3 pieces, we do it on a whiteboard, we make a line across that you guys can't see because my thing isn't good for some reason. And then these 2 are, yellow for us is a buyer lead, and all it says is name, contact, and notes. And purple is a seller lead on our boards. Okay, I'm going to tell you what the categories mean in a minute, and I'll try to do it a little bit slower so you can follow. But here's the neat thing about sticky boards. Okay, there we go. I like my way better, but that's okay. Here's the nice thing about sticky notes. We can move them. So somebody can become an A who was a B. Somebody can become a C way down here. See how easy that works? And it sticks there. It's really, really durable. Okay, so let's talk about what an A, B, and a C is. Now, again, this is Jim's version, not the book version, but it's very similar. An A is any person you've had an appointment with, okay? Any person I've had an appointment with, I'm going to contact them once a week by an appointment, doing it with them, or by a follow-up. So if I don't have enough houses to show them in week 2 or week 3, I'm still going to pick up the phone and say, hey, Selena, did you get all of the stuff I've been sending you? Did you see the ones that are coming on the market? Do you see the ones that are going off? I know none of them are matches, but I just wanted to make sure you saw them. Okay. So an A is active. We have an appointment. We speak to them once a month, once a week, every week. Very easy. B, a B is a lead that is going to buy or sell in 90 plus or minus 108, 90 plus or minus 30 days. Okay. So basically, these are our mid-range people. These are the place where most agents start to fall. And the reason being is most agents can take an A lead and run it through because it's active, it's on their brain. Most people will not call a B lead more than once, if once at all. So a B lead is someone who we believe by our own estimate is going to be under contract in 90 to 120 to 60 days. We're going to contact them twice a month, the 2nd and 4th weeks of the month. And I'm going to give you the dialogue for all 3 at the end. The third is a C. A C is actually 120 days plus anything. If Paul Sessom says he wants to buy a ski condo in New Hampshire next year, I am going to talk to Paul Sessom once a month until he either tells me to stop, and I'm still going to call, or he files a restraining order. Because I am going to add value to Paul's life for the next year, whether he likes it or not. Okay? Now, what's the dialogue? The dialogue is extremely simple. Everybody ready? I'll be as slow as I can be. Hey, Paul. This is Jim from EXP. I'm just calling to check and make sure you got all the information I've sent you and I didn't drop the ball. Paul says, oh no, Jim, I've got everything you send and we are going to use you as our agent, so you really don't need to call me every week. And I'm going to say, Paul, I really like to provide a higher level of service than most other realtors. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to call and give you an update. If you don't have time to talk to me, just send me to voicemail. It's absolutely fine. And just know you can call, text, or email me anytime. Now that's for all 3 categories, everybody. That's not just for an A or a B. It doesn't matter. They're all on a schedule. They're just not on your schedule. Okay. Now, I said we can manage on this incredibly great form. I said we can manage up to 80 people. I typically say 70 to 80. I made another chart that you can't see, so I'm going to read it to you nice and slow. So the chart has A, B, and C down the left, and then it has listing and sellers. Listers, sellers, A, B, C. Everybody with me so far? So in the A lister box, write 1 through 5. In the A lister box, write 1 through 5. In the A buyer box, write 5 to 10. A buyer, 5 to 10. In the B listing box, write 5 to 10. 5 to 10 in the B listing box. In the B buyer box, write 10 to 20. 10 to 20 in the B buyer box. C box listing, 10 to 20. 10 to 20 C listing, buyer 20 to 40. Now, what does this all mean? It means if my balance is in business as an individual agent doing both buyers and sellers, I should have this number of people in each category. Make sense? So if you have between 1 and 5 listers that are A's, your business is in balance. If you have 5 to 10 buyers in your business is in balance. When you fill out that entire form from your use of top 50, doing 2 open houses a week, doing all of the things you're supposed to do with your past clients, you don't need to worry about your business because you just built a 48-unit business right there. Okay, so is everybody good with the concept of ABCs? Casey, you like to add color commentary. Would you like to add any color commentary to this? You're the color commentary to my, I'm your Tom Brady to somebody else. I don't know who it is.
So ABC, well, I love this idea, right? And so a lot of times we think of ABC always be closing. I like ABC awareness before change. But in this context, ABC is a solid, no money laid out, retain 100% of what is possible for you to generate an income as a real estate agent through always being consistent. always be consistent on the top 50 program. And if somebody just focused on this one thing, they could have all the business that they want to personally have, which I think is the hardest thing that there is because of how many different approaches there are. And then the human nature of like, well, I'm going to do some of this one and some of that one and some of that one and see how they go versus, and if I, I'll have better results by just spreading out a little bit of everything because it's casting a wider net. And for the person that is, well, I mean, let's face it, anybody that's in real estate is entrepreneur. And so entrepreneurs are like bright, shiny object. If this is great, what's better? So I'm not going to give this up. I might be not doing it 100%, but how can we do this over here and this over here? And so, what would you say? Because this is naturally the first thing that comes up. Like, we like to keep things so complicated that don't need to be complicated, that when kept simple and executed work. So how do you address that?
The basics at a high level. If you answer your phone, if you do what you say you're going to do, if you follow up with people after they buy from you, you will have a business that is very profitable. It is not nearly as hard as we make it. Now, scripts and dialogues and some other things are going to add a tremendous amount to our conversion ratio. So if any of you think you have an 80 or 90% conversion ratio, A, you're wrong, and B, you have to sell to more people than your family. A really, really good agent, Mike Koch, Jamel, and I don't know some of you, so I'm sorry to keep using the same people. They're probably going to have a 60, 70, possibly 75% conversion rate. How did they get there? Is they worked really hard on their craft. They got really good at systems and scripts. The worst time to be thinking about what you're going to say is when you're saying it. Yet that's when most of us practice, is we practice when we're saying it. So just remember, the worst time to be thinking about what you're going to say is when you're saying it. Yet that's what all of us do. Okay. Now, I said to you, I believe in working a regular work day, and I think we have to be productive for the first 3 hours of every morning. So the last thing I want you to be productive with is probably the least favorite thing that I'm going to talk about, with the exception of Sisu, which only Mary and Selena have admitted to liking. But the last thing that I'm going to share with you is a product called Daily Success Habit Points. Okay, so you have this. This is a daily success habit tracker. And basically, all of the things in the middle, if you can blow that up just a little, Selena. All of the things in the middle are what we're going to call money-making activities. So if we spend our first hour of the day prepping to do our 3 stop-by visits with our top 50, and then we spend the second hour of our day calling our 6 to 7 leads that will show up when our ABC board is full, we're going to use the rest of our day to take this sheet and at first only track your activities. Do not try to get a number of points. Realize how many money-making activities you're doing every day, okay? Then once you realize how many money-making activities you need to do a day, I'm going to tell you to be successful in real estate at the level of 48 transactions a month. That is a good one too. 48 units a year. You have to do top 50. You have to have an ABC board, and you have to get 61 points a day of new outbound contact. So calling your seller from 3 years ago does not get you 1 point. Calling a potential buyer from an open house list is. Sending a blast email to everyone in Boomtown is not. Sending an individual email to someone in Boomtown is. Okay? Now, the best way to implement this is to set a goal that you know you can get after you see what you're doing. So as an example, if you saw that you normally get 15 to 20 points a day, double it and try to get 30 to 40. Again, the goal is 60, and I would like to take about 3 months to get to 60. Now, what's going to happen with this is top 50 and ABC board are what we would call met leads. They're people that know us. They have some familiarity with us. These are all not met leads. So the conversion rate on this is going to be lower, but it's going to grow your database much more quickly, and it's going to add to your ABC board much more quickly. Now, there'll be more C's in this and B's than there will be in A's. You'll have more A's and B's from your top 50, but this will produce more volume than they will. Okay, on the left of this form, just while we have it and I can show you, if you're ever wondering what you're doing and why you're not making money in real estate, Put this form on your desk, set your iPhone to go off every 30 minutes and write down what you did for the last 30 minutes. And it will not be top 50. It will not be ABC follow-up, and it will not be daily success habit points. It will be social media. It will be water cooler talk. It will be talking to your spouse. It will not be money-making activities. If you leave your family and say you're going to work, go to work. You only need to work 3 hours a day. The 3 hours a day you work will drive all of your activities in the afternoon. And when you have too much work, you get to start picking the work that pays you better. So my goal is not to be the biggest real estate agent in the world. My goal is to be the highest per hour paid real estate agent in the world. Meaning I only want to do 10 transactions, but I want each transaction to pay me $5,000 an hour, and I should work 5 hours on a listing. So I want to make $25,000 a listing in New Hampshire, which would be a ton, but I want to do it by being smart, not by being busy. Make sense? Okay, you can go back to full screen.
I love it. So many nuggets. So in the last 4 minutes that we've got, would just love any questions, comments, feedback from anyone that's on the call, on any of the topics, the mindset that's going to set you up for success, anything on the 8651, or anything else that's come up that you'd like to ask Jim during our time together today.
Don't all talk at once. This is our audience participation phase.
I can see everyone's getting ready to reach for the unmute button.
They're all writing down their very long questions. They want to make sure they're good questions.
I'll unmute. Just want to say this is fantastic and thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. That's very nice.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ted.
Anthony on the East Coast and Ted across the bay.
Hey, Ted, I'll be out there in July.
Oh, great. Love to meet you.
I'll be there.
I'm in Capitola, California, just across the bay from the little one here, Casey.
Can we wave from her roof to your house?
Of course.
I haven't been called little since I was in kindergarten. Thanks, Ted.
I guess since you guys are going to be shy and I've got a couple minutes, let me just say this. Real estate has been an amazing job for me. I never expected that I would get the things I've got. My life is far better than I ever thought it would be. I have a number of very, very special people to thank from that. And I will tell you that my last 10 years in real estate with the family that I've made at Workman, and now the family that I plan to create at EXP, which I see as a very complementary group of people as far as the quality of people that we're dealing with, has made my life so much more fun. I want you all to know that as simple as this sounds, it is not simple because you have to do it, but I promise with 100% certainty in 25 years, these are principles that Verl and I were doing 20 years ago. I started in real estate. My second broker bought me group coaching with Verl. And I have been with Verl for almost 23 years now. And I will tell you that we had a top 50 back then. We had an ABC back then. We had all of these things. The basics work because they're simple, you can execute on them, and they are effective and inexpensive, okay? Invest in the people that you've done business with, stay in touch with them, always adopt the other side of every transaction. The contract is over at the closing table. Use a post-close follow-up system. We just got a whole bunch of CRMs from EXP. We happen to use KV Core, but pick a system and use it and absolutely market to people that close from the other side. The stats say that 93% of people do not use their same agent at the next closing, even though at closing, almost all of them said they would, even though they suck. So imagine if you're great and you follow up with them, they're not even going to think you're you, but it doesn't matter because you're going to do a better job and then they're going to be in your top 50. Top 50 is rebalanced yearly. So you add people who refer. So these are questions people usually ask me, so I'll ask questions for you. So if I have 50 people in my top 50 and somebody gives me a lead, I put them in my top 50 and treat them as if they were a top 50. Then at the end of the year in December, I look at people that didn't engage. Now, didn't engage didn't mean they didn't get me somebody. It meant that they did not accept the level of commitment I was giving them. So I'm going to drop them and add the new people. I should typically be around 50. If you're at 52, I don't really care, but don't be at 60 or 70. You can't do it. Okay.
Really quick, can you just recap going back when you said the 50 people that should have given you a referral, right? What was the other one? That have given you or should have given you?
Have or should have. And the should have is we haven't trained them correctly. So what probably happened, Anthony, is you said, hey, if you ever, and the other side of top 50, real quick, I said I'd give you both fractions of it. The other side is adding the, oh, and by the way, do you happen to know anybody interested buying, selling, or investing in real estate? Most people won't do it in my experience coaching because they don't want it done to themselves. However, it is in the new book that way. So that's that. But when we say have or should have, the very normal thing for a realtor to say is, oh, by the way, Casey, if your friends happen to want to sell real estate, please have them call me. What I'm going to say is, hey, Casey, this has been a great experience. If you're ever going to refer me to anybody, would you please put me on a text with them and me at the same time? Because oftentimes it gets lost or whatever, and I want to make sure we can take care of them. So have or should have is giving them a correct path to make it work.
Love that. Jim,
come up
this
with
has
that.
been like so much value. And I am so happy that we have this on the recording. There's close to 900 people that are on the email list that request the recordings of these calls. And so excited to push it out. And, here's the thing is there is theory from people that haven't executed, and then there is execution and everything that gets learned from the execution. And what I loved about everything that you shared is it's something that you've been doing and using and working with for 25 years. And so it's not a matter of if it works, it does work. And the human always is the unknown factor. The human that's going to show up and participate with it is the X factor. And I always like to go back to listen, if one can, anyone can. And there's multiple people that are and that are at a really high level. And so for those of you that are on the call, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed of like, oh my goodness, this sounds great and it's a lot to implement and integrate. You're not going to do it all in one day. You're going to start and continue to move forward and improve it over time. And, and in that, refine and tweak. And Jim, you were going to say something.
Well, the biggest thing that surprises people is when you do top 50, what we call apology calls, when you stop and see people, is what you realize is they were good friends. You do miss them and your life gets better anyway. Meaning the act of getting back in touch with people is the real benefit of top 50, not the outcome. So just understand that you will enjoy it. And what we should have said at the beginning of this call instead of the end is, if you listen to me at 3/4 speed, it's about normal.
Oh, good. Or it's an opportunity to pay close attention and refine the skill set called listening.
We should send that out in the note. It should say, please listen to this at 3/4.
I love it. Jim, I love your heart, your contribution, your knowledge, your experience. Thank you so much for being willing to share it with everyone in our community. And I will look forward to having you back.
My pleasure. Anytime you guys want me, just give me a ring.
With that, the recording will be housed on empirebuilders.pro under the resources tab for the free Friday coaching call recordings. That'll be up later today. For those of you that want to go grab it, re-listen to it, share it, use it, integrate it. Look forward to hearing the stories of what's happened as you do that. So make it a great day, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.